Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we deliver the shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we are diving headfirst into a skill that causes, well, a lot of unnecessary social anxiety for millions.
Small talk.
Oh, yeah, it's a classic fear, isn't it? That moment when you're sort of cornered in the office kitchen or, standing next to a stranger at a party, and the silence just drops.
Yeah, that heavy silence. It can feel like this high-stakes performance, but it really doesn't have to be.
Absolutely not.
Our mission in this deep dive is to take a fantastic confidence guide we found, specifically for mastering these quick chats, and really demystify the whole process. Because, we found that small talk isn't some rare talent people are born with.
Right. It's definitely not magic. It's a fundamental communication skill.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite procedural. There's a step-by-step strategy you can learn.
Like tying your shoelaces.
Huh. Yeah, kind of like that, but for connecting with others. You learn the steps, you practice a bit, and pretty soon you're doing it without really thinking about it. Makes life smoother. Okay, let's unpack this then. We probably need to start with a really clear definition, because I think when people get stuck, it's often because they're trying to make it into something huge, a big emotional moment.
Exactly. They overthink it. Simply put, small talk is just a brief, lighthearted chat. That's it.
Brief. Lighthearted.
Yep. It's supposed to be uncomplicated, usually just a few minutes long, and always focus on simple, everyday subjects, things we all kind of share or can agree on easily.
Okay, that lighthearted part seems crucial. The guide really emphasizes avoiding serious stuff like politics or religion or deep financial talk. Why is that so important? Isn't the deep stuff where real connection happens?
Well, yes and no. It's all about managing expectations and context. Small talk is like testing the waters.
Okay.
If you dive straight into a really high-stakes, controversial topic, you risk immediate friction or discomfort. Small talk is the on-ramp to a conversation. It's not the destination itself.
I like that, the on-ramp.
Yeah. It needs to be easy, friendly, non-controversial, just getting things started.
That makes a lot of sense. It's almost like managing the atmosphere. But, okay, if we're just talking about the weather, why should you, the listener, really invest time in mastering this? What's the core value here?
Oh, a value is enormous, truly. Reason number one is simple courtesy.
Politeness.
Exactly. Small talk is polite and friendly. Think about waiting in a queue or standing in an elevator. Exchanging a quick, pleasant thought just avoids that deep awkwardness of total silence. It shows consideration for the other person.
Yeah, I appreciate that framing. It's like you're showing you're present, you see the other person, makes the whole environment feel a bit safer, maybe?
Totally. Safer, more comfortable. And the second key reason is connection. Small talk creates these small bonds.
The small bonds.
And those little bonds are often the fertile ground where friendships or, professional relationships can actually start. That brief, pleasant shared moment doesn't matter if it's with a stranger at the bus stop or a colleague in the break room. It changes the dynamic.
It fosters this little temporary sense of community, even with strangers. And this stuff is everywhere, right? It's not just for parties.
Absolutely everywhere. At work, think the office kitchen, or just passing someone in the hall, asking a colleague, having a busy day. That's small talk.
Social gatherings, obviously. Shops, waiting rooms.
Yep. It's basically the grease that makes the wheels of social interaction turn smoothly. Whether you're asking about the host at a party or just commenting on the queue, it's a quick, friendly interaction. It signals you're approachable, but importantly, without being intrusive.
Okay. We get the why. Now let's get to the part that probably causes the most anxiety for people listening. How do you actually start it? The guide lays out a very simple, kind of predictable three-step sequence.
Right. Step one is the absolute foundation, the friendly greeting. This is just the simple key that unlocks the door to the conversation.
And we have the standard choices, yeah. Hello, maybe slightly more formal. Or just hi, which feels more casual, laid back.
Exactly. And then you've got the time of day greetings, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. These are just beautifully polite, very common ways to start.
But the guide warns us about one specific time-related greeting. Good night.
Yes. Crucial distinction there. You need to remember this. Good night is only used as a farewell, like when you're leaving.
Okay, so never start with it.
Never start with it. If you say good night to someone, you're basically ending the interaction right there.
Noted. Right. We've offered our polite greeting. Step two is that standard how are you exchange.
This immediately shows a bit of interest and opens the door for actual dialogue. Now, when someone asks you this, the key is to keep your response positive or, neutral.
Like, I'm good, thanks, or not bad today.
Perfect. Simple is good. But the absolute most essential part of step 2 is this. Always return the question.
Ah, yes. Because if you don't,
It just falls flat.
it feels like an interrogation, right? Like you're just extracting information.
Exactly. You have to follow up with something like, and you, or how about you? It signals, hey, this is a two-way street, a conversation.
That reciprocity thing. Vital for flow. Okay, so greeting done, how are you exchanged? Now, step 3 is where we actually transition into the small talk itself. And this relies entirely on observation.
An observation, exactly. Look at your immediate environment, the here and now.
So you don't need some deeply prepared topic.
Not at all. The topic is usually right there, provided by your shared situation. And you've got 2 super easy methods for this. Method A is just making a simple comment about your shared surroundings.
Like, wow, this cafe is really bustling today. Or maybe, gosh, it's a bit chilly for June, isn't it?
Perfect. Or method B, ask a simple question related to the shared location or activity. So, at a book signing, maybe, have you read this author before?
Or at a coffee shop. Is the coffee any good here?
Exactly. Because the context is shared, the other person automatically has an easy way to jump in and engage. It's low pressure.
Right. So we've started the engine. Now we need to keep it running smoothly with safe topics. What's in the small talk toolbox once we move past just the immediate environment?
Okay, yeah. We're looking for topics that are reliably positive, easy, and definitely non-controversial. The absolute gold standard #1 safe topic is always the weather.
Always the weather.
Always. It's a shared experience, it's agreeable, and it requires 0 personal vulnerability. Easy win.
Okay. Then we can expand on the location we're in.
Yes, exactly. If you're outside, you can talk more about the surroundings. This park is so peaceful, or I love the autumn colors here. Number 3 is food and drinks, especially useful at an event.
Right. This pizza's delicious. Or what's that you're drinking? Looks interesting.
Simple stuff. And then topics 4 and 5 are hobbies and upcoming plans.
Okay, how do we approach hobbies without sounding like we're prying?
Gently. Use gentle, open questions. You're not demanding their life story, Try something soft like, have you managed to get outside much lately? Or maybe read any good books recently?
Nice. And for upcoming plans.
Just ask about the recent past or the near future. On a Monday, did you have a good weekend? Or if a holiday's coming up, any fun plans for the break?
Those 5 seem pretty solid, but maybe just as important is the list of things to avoid, right? What are the absolute red lines in small talk?
Okay, yeah, the big 3. Money, politics, and religion.
Avoid completely.
Avoid them entirely. They're just too personal, too controversial, and way too likely to lead to an immediate argument or just awkwardness. Remember, small talk is meant to be a short, friendly transaction. You're exchanging social currency, not debating deep philosophy.
That really simplifies the focus, actually. Okay, so we have a safe topic. How do we structure the questions so the conversation doesn't just die instantly with a one-word answer like yes or no?
Yeah, the dreaded one-word answer. We need to use an alternation strategy with our questions. And forget complicated grammar. Simple is key here. We rely on 2 basic question types. First, you've got your yes-no questions. These usually start with do, are, or is. Think of these as the key trying the lock. They just check for basic interest in the topic, like, do you like this neighborhood?
Okay, but if they just say yes, the door is still mostly closed, right? You need something more.
Precisely. That's why you immediately follow up, if they seem open, with WH questions. Your what, where, how questions. These require more than a yes or no. They require elaboration. They force the door open a bit.
So the strategy is check for interest with a yes-no question. And if you get a positive signal, like a nod or a yes, you pivot straight away to a WH question to get some detail. Can you give us a quick example sequence?
So let's say reading. You start with, do you enjoy reading? They say, yes, I do. Then you immediately follow up with, oh, cool. What kind of books do you enjoy reading the most?
Okay. Simple pattern. Yes, no. Then WH.
Clear, simple, and it gives the other person space to actually share something.
That makes the whole thing feel much more like a logical process, doesn't it? Rather than just frantically searching for the next clever thing to say.
Absolutely. And speaking of clever things to say, knowing how to ask questions is really only half the skill.
Right.
The other half, maybe even the superpower of small talk, is listening. Being a generous and active listener is probably the #1 thing that makes you an engaging conversation partner.
Okay, but how do we show we're engaged? We can't just stare silently while they talk. What are the actual techniques?
Good question. First, use small sounds, little verbal cues like Uh-huh, or even just a, The signal, you're processing what they're saying. They're like the green light telling the speaker, yep, keep going, I'm with you.
Okay, little encouraging noises. What else?
Second, use short, simple phrases to show some kind of basic emotional connection or reaction. If they share good news, oh, that's lovely. If it's something surprising, oh, really? If they mention a difficulty, maybe, oh, no. It just shows quick empathy.
Instant feedback. Nice.
Third, try echoing. This is a brilliant, simple technique. Just repeat one or two key words from their last sentence, but phrase it like a gentle question.
How does that work?
So if they say, I spent the weekend hiking near the coast, you simply reply, maybe slightly tilting your head, near the coast.
Ah, it proves you heard them and invites more detail without you having to think of a whole new question.
Exactly. And finally, we can't forget body language. This is huge. Put the phone away. Make eye contact, not intense staring, but regular contact. Nod your head sometimes to show understanding. Keep an open, friendly expression.
Basically signal, I am present with you right now.
That's the message. All these things together, the sounds, phrases, echoing, body language, they make the speaker feel genuinely valued and heard. And that feeling is the connection you're trying to build with small talk.
Okay, so we've listened brilliantly. Now, the ball comes back to our court. When we're the one answering, we have to avoid those really abrupt, closed-door answers, right?
Yep.
Just saying yes or no. We need to answer generously.
Yes, generously is a great word for it. A short, flat answer just brings the conversation to a screeching halt. It forces your partner to do all the heavy lifting.
Right.
So the guide recommends two simple rules here. First is the yes and rule.
Which means if we answer positively, we always add a little bit more information.
Absolutely. So if someone asks, do you like the music playing here? Don't just say yes. Say something like, yes, and I think it's the perfect background volume for this busy cafe, don't you?
Ah, okay. That extra bit of information is like a little conversation gift, isn't it?
Precisely. You've just given your partner potentially two new things to grab onto the volume or the busy cafe. You're helping them out.
They're tossing them multiple doors they could open next. Okay, that makes sense for yes. But what if the answer is negative? I think most people just say, no, not really, and then there's that awkward pause.
Yeah, that's where the no but rule comes in. It's really clever. So if someone asks, are you watching that new series on Netflix? And you're not, you don't just shut it down with no.
So what do you say?
You respond with something related, maybe positive, or just an alternative. Like, no, I haven't actually seen that one, but I've heard great things about it. I just finished watching this incredible documentary instead. Have you heard of it?
Ah, so you acknowledge their topic, offer a slight bridge, and then offer something new. You turn that closed door into an open window.
Exactly. You've kept the flow moving, even though your direct answer was negative. It's a really skilled move, actually. It guarantees the conversation stays like a game of catch, not hide and seek where they have to find the next topic.
Okay, brilliant. We've started, we've talked, listened actively, answered generously. The final, crucial skill must be ending the conversation gracefully. I think, honestly, most people, myself included, feel incredibly rude trying to leave a chat. How do I make sure our reason for leaving doesn't sound like just a lame excuse?
Yeah, the exit can be tricky. You need a clear, simple, 3-step exit strategy. This helps maintain that positive final impression you've worked to build.
Okay, 3 steps. What's step 1?
Step 1, use a positive closing phrase. Say something warm and clear that signals the conversation is winding down. Well, it was great chatting with you. Or, it was a real pleasure to meet you.
Sets the stage for the exit. Step 2.
Provide a simple, non-detailed reason for leaving. Keep it general. Anyway, I should probably get going now, or, well, I need to go find my friend. The key is general. It shows you have some external reason or duty rather than just implying you're bored or desperate to escape them.
Right, it's not personal. Okay. And step 3.
Wish them well. End on a warm note. Have a great day. Or enjoy the rest of your evening weekend. Simple, polite closing.
And what if they start the ending sequence?
Then you just be a good receiver. Don't try to keep the conversation going. Just mirror their politeness. A simple, you too, or thanks you too, lovely meeting you as well, is perfect. Easy.
This whole journey then, from spotting something in the environment to that graceful exit, it really provides a solid framework for confidence, doesn't it? So, for you listening, having absorbed all this great info, what's the practical action plan? What can you do, like, today?
Okay, great question. First, the main practice tip is start microscopically small, honestly. Your goal for the first week shouldn't be some 10-minute deep conversation.
No.
No, maybe just aim to say hello and offer a genuine smile to one new person each day, the delivery driver, the person at the checkout. Just build that basic muscle slowly.
Okay, tiny steps. What else?
Second, become a conversation detective. When you're out and about, actively listen to how native speakers actually use small talk. In
Yeah.
cafes, on public transport. You'll probably notice how simple, how often repetitive, and frankly, how kind of messy it often is in real life.
Yeah, it's not usually super polished, is it?
Not at all. And noticing that will normalize your own efforts. It
Yeah.
takes the pressure off being perfect.
Good point. And the last tip.
Finally, and maybe this is the most important one, be kind to yourself. Perfection is absolutely not the goal here. You'll make mistakes, you'll feel awkward sometimes. It's natural and honestly mostly forgettable to the other person. The real goal is simple, genuine connection, not perfection.
Connection, not perfection.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a fantastic, really actionable takeaway.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, maybe the most valuable contribution you can make to any conversation isn't actually having the cleverest or most polished thing to say, but aiming to be a brilliant and generous listener.
Absolutely. That simple commitment, just aiming to listen well, that alone will make you a great conversation partner in pretty much any context.
Well, that's our deep dive completed. Now go forth and connect.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're here again to unpack the source material you've shared, looking for those really practical bits of knowledge.
That's right.
And today we're tackling something that's just fundamentally human, isn't it? But it can feel incredibly difficult.
Communication.
Specifically, how to move beyond those surface level chats, the pleasantries, how to actually connect with someone.
Exactly. We're looking at that space, that sort of gap between the hello, how are you, and a real exchange, something with a bit more substance.
Our sources basically gave us a kind of communication handbook, didn't they? All about upgrading those social interactions.
Yeah, it's a detailed look at the mechanics, really.
Yeah.
How you get past the basic small talk and start building, well, actual rapport.
Because there's this fear, and I think everyone feels it sometimes, the conversation just stalls, right?
Oh, definitely. The conversational stall. It's painful.
You've done the opener, you've talked about the weather, or maybe the traffic, or, the thing you both saw. But then silence, that awkward pause where nobody knows what to say next.
Yeah, that moment. It can be a real anxiety trigger for a lot of people.
So small talk, we agree it's necessary. Like, you can't just skip it.
No, absolutely not. It's the social handshake, isn't it? It's how you start. You need that initial safe ground.
But the problem is, as you said, it often just dies there. It stays focused on these really safe, objective facts.
And that's where we get stuck. So our mission today, looking at this material, is figuring out how to prevent that stall, how to build a stronger bridge, essentially.
A stronger bridge, I like that. And the goal here, it's important to say, isn't about suddenly becoming best friends or, spilling your deepest secrets in 5 minutes.
Not at all, no. It's much simpler. It's just about making the interaction more personal and, honestly, more interesting for both people involved.
Right, because small talk can get boring fast.
It really can. So we're looking at this deliberate shift, this pivot from talking about facts like, I work in marketing, or, yeah, I live downtown.
Standard stuff.
Standard stuff, facts. We want to shift towards talking about, well, feelings, experiences, maybe motivations. Things like, I actually love marketing because, or I chose to live downtown because.
Okay, so it's the why behind the what.
That's a great way to put it. It's moving from facts to feelings and experiences. That intentional pivot, that's really the core of what we're digging into today.
Okay, so let's start there. Section 1. The purpose and anatomy of medium talk. Why isn't small talk enough? If it's polite and friendly, why does it fall short for building real connections?
Well, the sources use this analogy, which I thought was quite good. Small talk is like building a small bridge.
Okay.
It does the job. It's friendly. Traffic flows for a bit.
Yeah.
But it's not very strong.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much structural integrity. Right?
Like, it can't handle much weight.
Exactly. You can't bear any real emotional weight or even like sustained interest. If you just stay on that small talk bridge, you run out of road pretty quickly.
Because the topics themselves, the weather, the traffic, maybe the sports scores, they're inherently kind of shallow, impersonal.
They are. So these techniques we're discussing, what the sources are calling medium talk, they're aimed at building that stronger bridge.
And what does that stronger bridge actually achieve? Psychologically, what's happening when we move to that level?
The big outcome really is building rapport and trust. It sounds simple, but it's profound.
How does sharing something slightly more personal build trust?
Well, think about it. When you move from just facts to talking about an experience or a feeling, even a mild one, you're showing a little piece of your inner self. It's a subtle kind of vulnerability.
Okay, a small risk.
A small risk, yeah. And if the other person responds positively or even just accepts it without judgment, that response validates the risk you took.
Right. And that lowers the defenses a bit on both sides.
Exactly. It creates this tiny feedback loop of mutual assurance. It signals, okay, it's safe to share a little bit more here.
And that's how you shift the dynamic from just stranger or person I work with to maybe friendly acquaintance, or even the start of something more like friendship.
Precisely. And this isn't just, for parties or social events. Think about work.
Yeah, professional networking is a big one.
Huge.
Right.
You don't just want to talk about, say, market trends in the abstract. You maybe want to connect by talking about why you find those trends fascinating or frustrating or exciting.
Sharing the passion behind the data points.
Yes. That passion, that personal connection, that's far more memorable. It builds a stronger link than just reciting facts. This works with colleagues, clients, even your neighbors. Any interaction where you want, ongoing positive rapport.
Okay, but we need to draw that line again. When we say medium talk and sharing who we are, people might get nervous. They might think, oh no, do I have to talk about my childhood trauma or my weird hobbies?
No, definitely not. And the sources are quite clear on this. It's meant to be a friendly exchange. It's not an interrogation, and it's certainly not like an emotional therapy session.
No.
The goal is simply sharing a little more of your inner life, your preferences, your opinions, maybe minor experiences or observations. Not your deepest, darkest secrets.
So it's the difference you mentioned earlier, not just what did you do last weekend, which is pure fact.
Right. But maybe what was the best part of your weekend, or what did you enjoy most about that? You're asking about the feeling, the experience, the subjective part.
That distinction, action versus the meaning or feeling behind the action, that seems key. Intellectually, that's the shift.
It is. But to even get there, to even have the chance to ask that kind of question, we need to back up. We need to talk about the absolute foundation.
Which is always
listening. Good old listening. You have to be a great listener. But for this kind of conversation, it's a specific type of listening.
Okay, specialized listening. How so?
Well, we're not just listening politely, waiting for our turn to talk. We're listening actively with a very specific goal to spot a hook, to find a point in what they're saying that we can use to gently pivot towards something a bit deeper, a bit more personal.
All right, section 2 then. Skill 1. Listening for the threads. Let's dive into that specialized listening. The metaphor of threads is pretty useful, I think. It gives you a visual.
It really does. Imagine what the other person says is like, well, a piece of fabric. It's woven from lots of different threads, keywords, ideas, maybe little hints of feeling.
Okay.
The skill here is to notice those threads, and specifically to identify the thread that seems a bit more personal or maybe more interesting than the others, the one that carries a spark of their personality or passion or some unique experience.
And then you gently pull on it.
You gently pull on that thread. Metaphorically speaking, of course, you ask a question related to that specific thread.
Now, that sounds straightforward in theory, but, when you're actually in a conversation, maybe you're a bit nervous, there's background noise. Trying to analyze every word for threads sounds honestly a bit exhausting.
That's a really fair point. It could feel overwhelming if you think of it like analyzing grammar.
Yeah. Is there a simpler way, like a mental shortcut for when you're distracted or just trying to keep up?
Yes, definitely. The shortcut is to filter for two main things. Words expressing feeling or opinion, and details about unique experiences or places.
Okay, feelings and unique details.
Right. So don't just listen for what they did, the basic action. Listen for how they felt about it. Did they say it was amazing, frustrating, beautiful, challenging? Those are feeling words.
Got it. Emotional cues.
Emotional cues.
Oh, yeah.
Or listen for proper nouns, names of places, maybe specific events, hobbies that sound a bit out of the ordinary, or that they mention with some energy. That's where the personal story usually lies.
So filter out the generic stuff and tune into the emotion or the specific, unique detail.
Exactly. Let's test this. The material gives us that classic example. You ask a colleague about their weekend. They say, yes, it was good. I went for a beautiful long hike with my family.
Okay, so if I'm just doing basic small talk, I hear a good weekend, and I might just say, oh, that's nice. End of story.
Right. But if we're listening for threads, what stands out?
Well, Hike is an activity. Beautiful is definitely a feeling or description. And family relates to relationships. So 3 potential threads right there.
Perfect. Now you have choices. You can pull one of those threads.
Okay, so if I pull the hike thread, I'm focusing on the activity itself. I could ask something like, oh, cool, do you go hiking often? Or maybe, whereabouts did you go? Is it a tough trail? That opens up talk about hobbies, maybe local places.
Yep. Good factual follow-up leaning towards personal interest.
Yeah.
Or what if you pull the family thread?
That feels a bit more personal, maybe. I could say something like, oh, that's nice. You got to spend time with your family outdoors. Is that something you guys do regularly?
See the difference? That question shifts towards the meaning of the hike.
Mm-hmm.
The shared experience, the family connection, rather than just the physical act of walking.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing interest in their relationships.
And the key thing is I made a conscious choice. I picked up on a specific detail, which shows I was actually listening, not just, waiting to talk about my own weekend.
That's exactly it. It signals genuine attention. Now, let's take the second example where the thread is maybe more obvious. Someone says, oh, I love this background music they're playing. It reminds me of my time studying in New Orleans.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's not subtle. The music is just the jumping off point. Studying in New Orleans, that's the big flashing neon sign, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's like hitting the conversational jackpot, as you said. The thread is massive and clearly personal.
So my response needs to ignore the music completely at this point.
Pretty much. You acknowledge it briefly, maybe,
Yeah.
but you immediately pivot. The actionable response is something like, oh, wow, you studied in New Orleans. That's amazing. What was that like?
And boom. Just like that, we've jumped from a shared kind of neutral observation, the music, to a significant personal life experience, living in a unique city.
Exactly. The whole dynamic shifts with that one question.
So the core insight here, the skill we're honing, is training our ears to sort of filter out the generic small talk topic, the weather, the music, whatever it is, and really listen for that little flash of personal detail.
Yes. Listen for the passion, the unique experience, or the strong feeling or opinion. Those are the threads. Those are the entry points into medium talk.
It definitely requires more active listening than just nodding along.
It does.
Yeah.
Which is why that mental shortcut helps. Don't try to catch everything. Just listen for the energy. When you hear a word like love or hate or fascinating or challenging, or they mention a specific place or event that clearly means something to them,
That's the cue.
that's your cue. That's when you gently abandon the original safe topic and follow where their personal energy is leading. Because that's where the interesting stuff, the real connection, is hiding.
Okay, so we've spotted a thread, we've identified that personal hook. Now we need the tool to actually pull on it, right? Without breaking it or making things awkward.
Exactly. Which brings us to skill number 2, using open-ended follow-up questions. This is the engine that actually drives the conversation deeper.
And the key here is moving beyond those simple factual questions. The ones you can answer with just yes, no, or like a single word.
Right. Those closed questions, or even basic WH questions like where or when, they tend to shut down the flow. They're fine for gathering quick facts, but they don't invite sharing.
So if the question is just factual, like, did you enjoy the conference? The answer is yes, and maybe that's it. Conversational dead end.
Often, yeah, unless they volunteer more.
Yeah.
So the goal of these deeper, open-ended questions is specifically to invite the other person to tell a little story or share an opinion or explain a feeling, not just give you a data point.
Let's go back to the hiking example to really break down that difference.
Okay, so you pull the hike thread. If you stay in that factual sort of reporter mode, you might ask, where did you go hiking?
And the answer is maybe, oh, up near Bear Mountain. Fact delivered, conversation might stall again.
Exactly. There's no emotional hook in the name of the mountain itself. But if you shift your mindset to being, let's say, a curious friend instead of a reporter,
Then the question changes.
the question changes. You ask something open-ended like, oh, cool. What do you enjoy most about hiking?
Ah, okay. The answer to that can't be just a place name. It has to be personal.
It has to be. They might say something like, I just love being out in nature. It's so peaceful and quiet, a real escape from the city noise.
Wow. Okay, that one answer tells you so much more. It tells you about their values, peace, nature, maybe their stress points, city noise, how they cope escape.
See, you've instantly moved from just the activity hiking to the meaning behind the activity for them. Peace, escape, restoration. That's the leap into medium talk.
That subtle shift in the question makes a huge difference. It turns an information exchange into potentially a meaningful human interaction.
It really does. And the source material gives us a whole bunch of these power phrases, which are basically templates for asking these kinds of open-ended questions. They're really useful tools to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, let's list some of those, because having the actual wording helps people practice. These phrases signal, hey, I'm genuinely interested in your experience, not just the facts.
Okay, probably the simplest and maybe most powerful one is just, tell me more about that.
That's so good. It's gentle, it's open, it puts the ball entirely in their court to elaborate on whatever they feel is important.
Exactly. It's a non-threatening invitation. Then we have structures specifically designed to draw out stories, feelings, or motivations, like, what was it like? This invites description, sensory details. If they mention moving to a new city, what was it like settling in there? It asks for more than just a yes or no.
Good one. What else?
How did you get into? This is perfect for when someone mentions a hobby, a passion, maybe even their line of work. It asks for the origin story.
And origin stories are usually more interesting than just the current status, right?
Almost always.
Yeah.
Then there's what made you decide to. This one goes straight for the motivation, the reasoning behind a choice. Great for career changes, big decisions, maybe even choosing a particular project.
Okay, focusing on the why again.
Exactly. And similar, but focus more on the positive feeling. What do you enjoy about it? This directly targets their subjective experience, their pleasure or satisfaction. It's a really clean way to shift from fact to feeling.
What do you enjoy about living in the city instead of just, how long have you lived here?
Perfect example. And then maybe for slightly deeper moments, or if they've hinted at a challenge, how did you feel when you finally finished that marathon? Or when you got that promotion? This goes right to the emotional core.
These are great. Let's run that motivation test with the guitar example from the material one last time.
Okay, so someone mentions they're learning guitar. The reporter collecting facts asks,
Oh yeah, how long have you been learning?
answer, about 6 months. Okay, fact noted. Conversation potentially stalled. It's transactional.
But the curious friend, using one of these power phrases, asks.
Oh, that's cool. What made you decide to learn the guitar?
Big difference.
Huge difference. The answer now isn't just a time frame. It could be a story about a grandparent, a song they loved, a personal challenge they set themselves. Who knows? It invites their narrative.
It instantly makes the exchange warmer, more relational.
Absolutely. So the big takeaway here, psychologically, is to try and shift your mental focus. Stop thinking of yourself as just collecting data points about the other person. Start thinking of yourself as inviting them to share their human stories. Be curious about their experiences.
Okay, this is great. We've got listening for threads, asking open-ended questions, but there's a potential pitfall here, isn't there?
Yes, a big one. If you get really good at skill 1 and skill 2, the listening and the questioning, you risk turning the conversation into an interview. Or even an interrogation if you're not careful.
Right. You become this amazing question asker, drawing them out, but you're not sharing anything yourself. It becomes very one-sided.
Exactly. And that doesn't feel like a connection either. It can actually feel quite uncomfortable for the person being constantly questioned, which is why skill 3 is absolutely crucial.
And that is?
The art of balance, reciprocity, making sure the conversation flows both ways.
Because a good conversation needs that two-way investment, right? If someone feels like they're constantly under a spotlight answering questions, they'll probably clam up eventually, even if the questions are interesting.
For sure. Reciprocity is what builds mutual comfort and trust. It shows you're willing to share a bit too, not just extract information.
So the source has actually laid out a pretty clear structure for this, like a pattern to follow. They called it the conversational dance.
Yeah, the dance metaphor works well. It's a cycle, a rhythm that helps ensure both people get a turn, both contribute. If you get this rhythm down, it prevents that awkwardness and helps build the strongest connection.
Okay, let's map out the steps of this dance. It seems like a really practical framework people can actually practice. What's step 1?
Step 1, ask them an open-ended question, based on the thread you heard. You initiate that move towards something a bit deeper.
Okay, lead with curiosity. Step 2.
Step 2, listen deeply to their story. Really absorb what they're sharing, the facts, the feelings, the experiences. Show you're engaged.
Right, the active listening part. Then step 3, this is the new part.
Step 3, share a short, related story of your own. This is the reciprocity moment. You step forward briefly, connect their experience to something in your own life, and reveal a little bit about yourself.
Okay, the sharing part. And then crucial step 4.
Step 4, ask another question to pivot back to them. You immediately return the focus, hand the conversational ball back.
Ask, listen, share briefly, ask again. That's the cycle.
That's the dance. And that step 3, the sharing part, that's the real bonding agent.
How so? What's the function of sharing your own little story?
It basically signals, I get it, or me too, in a way. It says, I understand what you're feeling or experiencing because I've felt something similar.
Okay, so if they share how much they love hiking because it's peaceful.
You might share a quick story like, oh, I totally get that need for quiet. For me, I find that same kind of peacefulness when I'm, say, working in my garden late in the evening.
You're connecting your experience gardening to their feeling, peacefulness. You're validating their emotion.
Exactly. You're building a bridge of commonality. We're similar in this way. That creates comfort and rapport.
Makes sense. But here's where I see things going wrong in real life. People start sharing their story and suddenly it's not so short anymore.
Oh, yeah. This is the absolute danger zone of step 3, self-absorption. Hijacking the conversation.
Right. So the sources really emphasized a rule here, didn't they? The rule of brevity.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. We cannot stress this enough. Your shared story needs to be short. Really short.
Like, how short are we talking?
Think like 30 seconds max. Maybe 2 or 3 sentences. The goal is connection, not telling your life story.
30 seconds. That's not much time at all.
It's not. It forces you to be concise. Remember why you're sharing. Simply to connect their point to yours briefly. You're not trying to entertain them with your own saga.
Is there a way to catch yourself if you start going on too long?
One good mental check is the I count. If you notice you said I or me or my more than 3 or 4 times in a row, yeah, that's a yellow flag. You're probably talking too much about yourself. Time to wrap it up and pivot back. The intention is key. Share to connect, then immediately refocus on them.
Okay, so share short, then execute that pivot back, step 4, which is asking another question.
Yes, and that pivot is what keeps the dance flowing smoothly. It prevents the conversation from just awkwardly stopping after your little anecdote.
So, using the gardening example, yeah, I find that same quiet working in my garden after dark. It's my escape. Short share, then pivot back. Are there any other outdoor things or maybe quiet activities you enjoy for that same reason?
Perfect. See how smoothly you handed it back? The focus is instantly on them again. You've made the connection, validated them, and kept the conversation moving forward about their interests.
Okay, but what if? What if you genuinely can't relate? They share something, you listen, and you think, I have absolutely nothing similar to share here. Like the example in the material, they're passionate about, I don't know, collecting rare 1920s jazz records. And you know zero about jazz.
All right, it happens all the time. You don't have a related story. The advice here is simple. Don't fake it. Don't try to force a connection that isn't there.
Okay, so what do you do instead of sharing? Skip step 3.
You basically replace step 3, sharing, with just staying curious. You double down on the open-ended questions. You don't need to be an expert on their topic. You just need to be genuinely interested in their relationship with the topic.
So focus on their experience of it.
Exactly. Instead of sharing your non-existent jazz story, you lean in with more curiosity. You could ask things like, wow, 1920s jazz, that's so specific. What is it about that particular era or sound that really grabs you?
Or maybe, what kind of feeling does that music give you when you really listen to it?
Perfect. You're focusing on their subjective experience, their feelings, their passion. You're still validating them as a person and their interest, even if you can't directly relate to the topic itself. Genuine, authentic curiosity is always better than faking expertise or forcing a connection.
This leads us perfectly into what might be the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. Let's call it section 5, the guardrail, reading the conversational signs.
Yes, absolutely crucial. Because let's be honest, you can have all these great techniques, listening for threads, asking deep questions, sharing appropriately. But if you use them on someone who isn't receptive or at the wrong time,
you risk making them feel really uncomfortable or interrogated or just weirded out.
Exactly. And that completely defeats the purpose. The most important skill, maybe even more than asking good questions, is recognizing and respecting the other person's boundaries.
So how do we know? If someone isn't interested in moving past small talk or just isn't feeling it right then, how do they usually signal that? We need to be able to read the signs.
The sources highlighted 2 main verbal signs, but we should also definitely be aware of nonverbal cues too.
Okay, what's the first big verbal sign?
It's what we could call the short, simple answer to an open-ended question. You craft this beautiful, thoughtful question designed to invite sharing, like, what do you find most rewarding about living in this city?
Yeah.
And they just reply with something really brief, factual, and non-committal. Like, it's fine.
Oh.
Or the commute's easy.
Ouch. Okay, that's pretty clear. They're basically shutting down that line of inquiry.
Right. They're not accepting the invitation to go deeper. They're handing the conversational baton back to the surface level.
Yeah.
It's a clear signal. Don't push here.
Okay, that makes sense. Short, closed answers to open questions. What's the second big verbal sign?
Lack of reciprocity. This goes back to the dance we talked about. If you're doing your part, asking thoughtful questions, maybe sharing brief related points, but the other person never asks you anything back.
Yeah. It stays completely one-sided.
Exactly. If they show zero curiosity about you, your thoughts, your experiences, the conversation remains an interview, not an exchange. They might be polite, they might answer your questions, but if they never turn the question back to you,
They're probably signaling they don't want to build that mutual connection right now.
that's usually a safe assumption, yes.
Okay, those are verbal. What about nonverbal? What should we be looking for physically?
Classic signs of disengagement or discomfort. Look for closed or distracted body language.
Like crossed arms.
Crossed arms. Maybe physically angling their body away from you, even slightly. Are they repeatedly checking their watch or phone? Are their eyes constantly scanning the room over your shoulder?
Yeah, the looking for an escape look.
Exactly. Or maybe their eye contact is really fleeting. They meet your gaze only briefly when answering, then look away again. That often signals they don't want that sustained connection or intimacy. Lack of smiling, fidgeting. These can all be cues.
So we need to be tuned into both what they say and how they look and act.
Absolutely, it's the whole picture.
Okay, so let's say we spot these signs, one or more of them. Short answers, no questions back, closed body language. What's the right move? Because pushing harder is definitely the wrong move.
Absolutely the wrong move. The moment you sense resistance, you need to immediately stop trying to go deeper. You back off that line of questioning right away.
And the most graceful way to do that.
The easiest thing is usually to just pivot back to safe, neutral small talk. Talk about the immediate environment, a shared observation, something completely impersonal.
Can you give an example like, I asked a deep question, got a one-word answer. What do I say next?
You just smoothly change the subject back to something obvious and external. Ah, okay. Well, anyway, I'm glad they finally fixed the air conditioning in here, weren't you? Or did you happen to catch the score of the game last night? Something light, shared, and requiring zero personal input.
You're basically acknowledging their boundary by changing the topic back to something safe.
Exactly. Or if the signals are really strong or the conversation just feels stalled despite your best efforts, that might be your cue to politely end the interaction altogether.
Okay, and there's a way to do that gracefully too, right? The 3-step exit.
Yes, having a little script for a polite exit is super helpful to avoid that awkward fade out. It usually involves 3 steps. 1, acknowledge and validate briefly. Say something warm but simple, like, well, it was really interesting chatting with you about X.
Okay, positive acknowledgement, step 2.
2, state your immediate need, or this is your bridge out, your polite reason for leaving. I should probably go grab another coffee before the next session starts, or I promised my friend I'd find them, or I need to make a quick call. Keep it simple and brief.
Got it, the excuse. And step 3.
3, a simple closing or future forward, something like, hope you enjoy the rest of the event, or maybe we'll chat again later, or just take care.
Acknowledge, state need, close. That feels smooth, manageable.
It is. And the core principle behind all of this, reading the signs, pivoting back, exiting gracefully, is just fundamental respect.
It really boils down to that, doesn't it? All these skills, the threads, the questions, the sharing, they're not about manipulating someone into talking. They're about creating a comfortable space for connection, if the other person wants it too.
Precisely. The best communicators aren't just good at talking or asking. They're incredibly skilled at reading the room, at sensing the other person's comfort level. They know when to lean in, but just as importantly, they know when to back off.
Success isn't measured by how much personal information you got, but by how the other person felt during and after the interaction.
Absolutely. Making them feel comfortable, respected, and heard, even if the conversation stays at the surface level, that's the real mark of high social intelligence. Respecting boundaries is paramount.
Okay, wow. That was a really comprehensive breakdown of how to structure these conversations for more depth. Let's try to wrap this up with a sharp summary for everyone listening. What are the 3 absolute key steps for moving into successful medium talk?
Okay, 3 key steps. Step 1, you've got to train yourself to listen differently. Ignore the surface noise and actively listen for the threads, those little sparks Keywords, passions, unique experiences, feelings hidden in the small talk that signal personal energy.
Right. Find the thread. Step 2.
Step 2. Once you've found a promising thread, gently pull on it using open-ended follow-up questions. Remember to shift your mindset. You're not a reporter collecting facts. You're a curious friend inviting them to share a story or a feeling. Use those power voices.
Ask open-ended questions. Got it. And step 3.
Step 3. Keep the conversation balanced and flowing using reciprocity. That conversational dance. Ask, listen, then share something brief and related to yourself, remembering the rule of brevity, and then immediately ask another question to pivot the focus back to them.
Listen for threads, ask open-ended questions, practice reciprocity with brief sharing and pivoting back. That seems like a solid framework.
It is. But like any skill, it takes practice. It'll feel awkward at first. That's totally normal.
Yeah, you can't just read about it and expect to be smooth the first time. Every conversation becomes a little practice session.
Exactly. So what's a manageable first step? If someone wants to start integrating this, what's one small thing they could try this week?
Good question. Don't try to do the whole dance perfectly right away.
No, definitely not. I'd say focus on the engine first. Skill 2. Just aim to use one single open-ended follow-up question in one conversation sometime this week.
Just one.
Just one. Listen for one thread, and instead of your usual reply, try asking one question that starts with something like, what do you enjoy about? Or what made you decide to? Or even just tell me more about that, and just notice. Notice the difference in the kind of answer you get compared to usual.
That feels really achievable, low stakes. Find one opportunity, ask one open-ended question, and just observe what happens.
Exactly. That small step, that tiny shift in how you ask a question, that's where this whole dynamic of deeper connection begins to open up.
I love that. It makes it less intimidating. So, final thought for our listeners. If small talk is that initial, maybe cautious handshake, then medium talk is like the beginning of a real partnership, an actual collaboration, whether it's intellectual, emotional, or just social.
Well said.
So the question to ponder is, what one small intentional step can you take, maybe even today, to move just slightly beyond the surface and genuinely invite someone else to share a little piece of their story?
Be brave enough to be curious. Choose that curiosity over making assumptions or judgments. And remember, often the most interesting thing isn't the what's or the where, but the why, the motivation or the feeling behind it all.
Fantastic advice. Thank you for digging into this with me today.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating and vital skill.
And thank you all for joining us on the deep dive. Keep practicing, keep staying curious about the people around you, and we look forward to connecting again next time.